So if you want to learn more about artificial intelligence, personalization, and the future of extraordinary events, you're in the right place. We've got the amazing Ben Phillips, the Client Development Manager at Morton Worldwide, speaking to you today. So we will be taking questions from you guys in the end of the session. So if you've got any, feel free to pop them through Slido. That would be on slido.com. The event code is ETL18. That's slido.com. And please join me in welcoming Ben.
Thank you. Cool. 68%. By 2020, Gartner predicts that 68% of all customer interactions are going to be managed without human intervention. Now, that's nearly 3 in every 4, and it's in less than 2 years, and it's largely owing to advances in artificial intelligence. That is going to affect us in events, so the question is no longer if, it's how, and that's what we're going to be exploring today. But first, hello. My name's Ben Phillips. This is my face for anyone who doesn't believe me. I am Jack Morton's Client Development Manager in Europe. And for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to start to tease the debate that we really need to start having as an industry when it comes to AI. Now, AI might sound quite complex, but my involvement with it is actually pretty simple. At the core of it, my job requires me to look for ways in which we at Jack Morton can better service the needs of our clients. And obviously, we believe that AI is one such way. And I'm standing for you today because of that, but before we get into any of it, I'm going to give you a shameless 2-minute pitch. I'm going to give you a quick overview into who Jack Morton are so that hopefully you can see that we're not making any of this stuff up. And I suppose the best place to start, as Mr. Sinek would suggest, is with our why, our reason to exist. And that is quite simply to do something extraordinary. And that's for ourselves, for our clients, and for our industry. Now, we've been doing it for 79 years, and the way that we do it is by creating events and experiences that fundamentally connect brands and people. Now, of course, extraordinary yesterday is no longer extraordinary today, and so we are constantly, single-mindedly focusing on the future, looking for ways that we can drive more intimacy in those connections. And the way that we believe we're going to do that is by making everything more immersive, more responsive, more curated, and more connected, which of course is why AI is so compelling for us. Now, we are one of the biggest global brand experience agencies, and we have a whole load of people doing really, really cool stuff all over the world. And to give you an example, that stuff looks a little bit like this.
We are all different.
We may love it or hate it.
Put your hands up, put your hands up.
So that's us. So back to the issue of today. What we're going to cover is a quick look at what AI actually is, and I'll try to make it as jargon-free, I promise. We're going to have a look at some of the pros and cons when it comes to personalization, which is a big issue when it's in terms of the use of AI in our industry. And then we're going to look at 2 specific use cases that we believe are going to be massively important for events moving forwards. But first, I wanted to ask you a question. Who here has used AI in the last 48 hours? Show of hands. Okay, Google, Siri, Alexa, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, your emails use it to filter out spam, your banks are using it to detect fraud. My point is that AI is already all around us, and it's doing a stupid amount of really, really clever stuff. It's also doing some really quite strange stuff, like sorting cucumbers, or beating 75% of Americans in a visual intelligence test, or absolutely nailing Super Mario. But my point is, it's already all around us. But what exactly is it? Now, I've put together a really simple diagram that I hope is going to clear all of that up. So, yep. Cool, I'm joking, by the way. But AI essentially means making machines that think a little bit like humans. And a huge part of that revolves around creating technology that can recognize patterns and make predictions. Now, when we think of AI, we tend to think of it as an individual entity that can walk and talk and think a little bit like a C-3PO, and that's called strong AI, which to our knowledge doesn't actually exist yet. It probably does somewhere, but we don't know of it. What we do have today is called weak AI. And weak AI is exceptionally good at focusing on a really, really specific task. So weak AI is what allows us to navigate traffic with Google Maps. It's what turns our heating and our lights on with Nest. It's what helps us to pick a film on a Friday night with Netflix. And it's also what allowed us to meet Frank, who, by the way, is not that chap there. It's Deliveroo's dispatch engine, which matches the right number of riders to orders in order to get your food on time. So it is super powerful. And in the information age, it is in an age where data is our new most valuable commodity. AI is the vehicle that's going to be driving the next era of revolutionary change. I mean, it's going to help us to do things that we already do better, in the same way as electricity helped us to move from candlelight to light bulb. But it's also going to help us do some inconceivable stuff, in the same way as the internet would have been inconceivable at the birth of electricity. So it is super powerful, but there are some issues that we need to clear up with regards to the industry that we're working in. And one of the big things, one of the big hot topics, is its use with regards to personalization. Now, we all know that one of the big buzzwords of the 20th century was mass. It was mass production, mass communications. It was one product for all and one message for all. And success really depended on how loudly you were able to shout it. But with AI, we get access to something called mass personalisation, which is a service or a response that's curated specifically to you that can get you the answers that you need immediately. You know, think about you walk into a hotel, they already know you, they can greet you by name, they know what you like for breakfast, they know what newspaper you want in the morning. It's really, really simple, personalised things. And it's able to do all of that because of data. Big data in particular, because now there is way too much data in the world for human beings to realistically comprehend or to analyze. And so AI was actually born out of a necessity to not just handle that data, but to analyze it, to spot the patterns, and to make the predictions that will improve our lives. Now, a lot of that data is going to be gathered ambiently, which is fine, but a lot of the data that we're going to need to use in events is going to be given by consumers, by customers, which means it's of a very personal nature, and we need to be really careful about the ways that we're handling it, especially given GDPR. Now, 57% of consumers do not trust an organization or business to use their data responsibly. Not just that, but 71% believe that brands with access to their personal data are using it unethically. Now, unethically is a big word, so it's really clear that there's an issue here that we need to resolve when it comes to gaining access to that data that we need to use for AI to create these amazing, seamless guest experiences. So it's an ecosystem. And if we don't respect that, then we're going to lose access to all of that AI food that I just mentioned, and we're going to miss out on this hyper-personalized experience landscape that we should be moving towards. But I think that's probably enough throat clearing for now. I'm just checking the time, so I'll move into how AI, we think, is going to be used in events. And there are two specific areas that we think it's going to be really, really important moving forwards. And the first one of those is the guest experience. Now, there is a very specific AI-created platform that is going to help in this regard. We think it's going to have a massive impact, and I'm going to show you two stats that should give you a hint as to what it is. See if you can guess. The first one is the one I showed you earlier. So nearly 3 in every 4 customer interactions are going to be managed without human intervention within 2 years. Why? The second stat is that 1 in 5 brands are going to forsake the mobile apps that we're still trying to convince them to build, by the way, within a year. Again, why? Now, there is a connection. Can anyone guess? No? Chatbots. In a word, the connection is chatbots. Now, chatbots are going to allow us to deliver that seamless, 24/7, always-on connection to guests that they are absolutely demanding. And a chatbot is, quite simply, it's a bot that will sit in a messenger app or in SMS, and it will ask and answer questions. That's it. And thanks to natural linguistic processing, we can talk to a chatbot like we would talk to a human being, or at least that's the idea. And this is what it looks like. This is the scary monster that a lot of people think is going to be taking all of our jobs. Now, KLM were the first airline to develop a chatbot to sit inside Facebook's Messenger app. And all it does is it sits there and it waits for it to need to tell you something or for you to need to ask it something. It can give you your boarding pass, check-in details. It can give you live status updates on your flight. You can ask it customer service questions. But essentially, it is simple mass personalization. And if that's not enough for you, then you've got celeb chatbots for all of your celebrity chatting needs. You can talk to Christina Milian, to Katy Perry. You can even talk to Cartman. Now, a lot of these are actually endorsed, so these are a real 24/7 connection to celebrities. Now, some of them are actually so good at responding in a recognizable tone of voice that it was quite a famous case, actually, of a girl who broke her boyfriend's phone because she believed he was having an affair with Christina Milian. And if you'd seen this couple, you would know that wasn't true. But still, the power of a chatbot is insane. And if Christina Milian can be there 24/7 for her fans, there's no excuse for us with our guests. You know, it is often that I hear people say, I wish there were 10 of me. Now there sort of can be. But it's not all fluffy stuff. You know, it was the World Economic Forum who said that while humans are limited in the attention and kindness that they can expend on another person, artificial bots can channel virtually unlimited resources into building relationships. You know, they don't get tired. They don't get sleepy. They don't get angry. You know, they don't have hangovers. They don't have babies teething at home. And what's more, they can actually be life-saving, as in Brazil. So this was the chairman of AA in Brazil who had this to say about Anonymous Friend, which is their artificial chatbot. And I'm going to read it because it's awesome. With the help of the bot, people are coming to group meetings, lives are being saved, and whole families can find peace again. Anonymous Friend can now be considered the first step in treating alcoholism. Now that's incredible. But it isn't just about availability. It's not just about being there 24/7. It can also help with staggering choice. So this is North Face's mobile shopping app, and it's a chatbot, and it will essentially ask you questions about where you're going and what you're going to be doing, and it will then filter down a selection of up to 350 coats to the 1 or 2 that it thinks you should pick. Now that is immensely useful for a human being to stagger choice like that. I mean, imagine you've got 1,000 fellow delegates at a conference, and you don't know who you should be talking to, or you don't know which talks you should be attending. A chatbot can help. Now, obviously, you know which talks you should be attending, but anyway, that's not the point. Now, a really, really good use case is with Edwardian Hotels, and this is their virtual host chatbot. And it sits inside SMS, so you actually really only need a phone that can text to use it. And it can help you get room service, it can help you order towels, you can ask it customer service questions, and what it does is it acts as a hybrid bot. So it will have all of those easily automatable tasks humming and whirring away in the background, and when it comes across something that's a little bit more complex, like a complaint, which would benefit from a human value add, that's where it makes a seamless handoff to a human. So it really is human plus AI. It's not just text-based, though. Chatbots, a huge part of what they're going to be doing is in voice. Now, this is Kimpton Hotels, who have an app within Alexa called Alexis, which is in every one of their rooms, and you can use it to book restaurants, you can use it to order an Uber, you can use it to order your room service. Now, admittedly, they don't always work perfectly. But when they do, they create these amazing, seamless experiences that we should and need to be offering to our guests. Now, I'm going to use a really simple example of where a chatbot can help to make a seamless experience. And I'm going to use the example of turning off the lights in another room. Now, the old way would be to go to the other room, to turn the light switch off, to come back to the room you were in, and then to sit down. Apparently, that was too much effort for human beings, and so we developed the new way, which is actually the old way. And that was to locate your phone, to unlock your phone, locate and open your app, navigate to the correct room, tap, turn off lights, exit app, close phone, put phone away. That was the old way. The new way is, OK, Google, turn off bedroom lights. Seamless experience. The second area in which we think AI is going to impact guest experience is with real-time analytics. Now, this is massively important because it allows us to comprehend a load of data that we wouldn't previously have been able to have access to or analyze, and we can do it in real time, which means that we can be personalizing our events and our experiences, not just on a person-by-person basis, but on a moment-by-moment basis. Now, we're all probably used to some form of facial recognition when it comes to events, but this is a really lovely example of Badge Drive and Zenus Biometrics coming together to map faces. What they did was they mapped the face. It then presented itself to different data points in a database, which would say, this is this person. And that allowed them to reduce registration times down to 9 seconds, which is awesome. But imagine that you use that kind of instantaneous recognition in another scenario, pre-event maybe. So you already know what this person looks like, so what's to say that you couldn't have digital signage on the way up to the event where it's greeting them by name because it already knows who they are. It's personalizing messages to them. It could be telling them that they're late for their talk or that they need to be going to this place to meet that person. Again, really simple personalization. This is another example of facial plus emotional recognition, which we're using at our London office at the moment. We're actually using it to test how happy people are when they come into work, so it's a fun game. And this is one of our creative technologists who's using it. And it will be absolutely massive for events and experiences in itself, because it can allow you to tell how engaged people are, not just with the event, but with specific content. It'll allow you to potentially personalize the content that you're serving up based on gender, based on age, based on mood. And it'll give you access to an array of data points that we previously wouldn't have had access to. So you can prove ROI and return on emotion even in a very different way. It's also really good at helping you to map objects in video format, so it could be really useful when looking at crowd mass. Now, not just for crowd safety, but imagine that kind of data being available to a logistics and a production team in real time. You could see that people are crowding in space X and ignoring space Y. You could be asking yourself, is that good? Is it bad? Do I need to give them coffee? So all of that data is becoming available to us, not just available, but able to be analyzed quickly, efficiently, and in ways that a human being couldn't comprehend, to feed back into our experiences live. Imagine what that could do for your guest experience. Now, the second way in which we believe that AI is going to impact our industry is in the way we do our jobs. Now, everyone has probably been down this road where we think that automation and robotics are going to be ripe for blue-collar, manual labor to be automated. But actually what seems to be happening now is that we're seeing the more white-collar, specialized skill sets becoming ripe for automation. Now, this is a law bot that some students at Cambridge University created, and what it can do is it can look at a case, and it can tell you not just which lawyer it thinks you should go to, but what precedent you should be looking at, what legislation you should be going into. It can even predict the chances of success based on previous cases. There are other bots that can look at contracts, that can do legal research, but my point is that this is highly specialized human labor for a junior lawyer. And a law bot can do what would take them hours or even days in seconds, and it'll cost you pennies. So ask yourself, when a robot can do something in seconds which would take a human being hours, what does that mean for us? I mean, Clay Christensen, the innovation guru, said, when one thing becomes commoditized, something else becomes valuable, which couldn't be more true in this case. So we need to focus on what can be easily automated, but then where we can really still add the value, because we still can. Think of it as us not versus AI, but plus AI. It elevates us. It allows us to do our jobs better. It frees up time for us to focus on the things that we can actually really add value on. I mean, a lot of what we all do here, and what certainly we do at Jack Morton, is creative, with a capital C. And we actually didn't believe that AI was going to be a big problem for creativity. We didn't think that was something it was going to be able to touch, but actually we're seeing that change. Now, this is Peter Blake. You might know him, very famous 2D graphic artist. He's also done some really lovely album covers. This is a particularly famous one. That's him there on the right. But in the 60s and 70s, he made his name with these really bold, visually arresting versions of the word love. And recently, he worked with a team from Coca-Cola, a team of really, really smart people I don't understand. And they created algorithmically generated versions of his art. So every single person in this audience would have a different version of that art. Really cool in itself, but what's even more interesting is that Peter then went through all of that art and he baptized the bits that he thought were art into his existing portfolio. So that's machines helping with the creation process, and then human beings exercising their editorial judgment to decide what's good and what's bad. Now that is human plus AI. Another example is with Tagliner. So Tagliner is a really simple bot. It was created by some guys at Twitter, took them a couple of hours, and the idea is that it spits out a new tagline every hour, like when emotion meets freedom. And this is really quite bad until you start adding in some brand-specific vocabulary. And as soon as you start doing that, it becomes really, really good, really, really quickly. So imagine you're a copywriter and you've got to get the perfect piece of copy and you've got to get it tomorrow. You could use this to get you 100 suggestions with brand-specific vocabulary in seconds, and then you could pick the 10 that you want to work with. So again, it's human plus AI. Another example is Textio. So Textio is an augmented job platform. So it will help with writing job ads. It analyzes 10 million job postings a year. It looks at the successes of those. And then it suggests ways in which you can optimize your content to get the best recruits, to get the best results, to get everything. Now, it's not difficult to imagine a world where we're using that for our websites to optimize our copy, or in our emails when we're inviting people to our events. You know, it really is a tool for good. And in a different field, this is LogoJoy. So LogoJoy takes the work of a graphic artist and does it in 2 minutes. So you quite simply enter your name. I'm going to skip through this quite quickly. You look at some of the styles that you like, pick a color palette. You then add a slogan, and then again, it takes a while, but you would get the opportunity to add some graphics that you like. And it spits out something that looks a little bit like this, hopefully. There we go. And you can still customize this. You can still change the logos, the fonts, the colors, but it's a starting point. It gives you something to build from. And would I use that logo for the rest of my life? No, probably not. But would I spend $20 to get to this point rather than 10 times as much to use a graphic designer to get to that point? It really is the beginning. I mean, think of yourself as a one-person agency. You might not have the money to afford a graphic designer. This could help. If you are a big agency, but you don't want to invest in a graphic designer just yet, you want to use it to test your client to see what sort of stuff they like, again, this can help. So it is human plus AI. But it's not just 2D, it's 3D as well. Now, I'm not going to pronounce it because I do it horribly every time, but this is a concert hall in Hamburg. And essentially, this ceiling was designed to be the most perfect acoustic space. And it was created entirely by AI. So AI was used to determine the right configuration of tiles, where they needed to be, in order to create the perfect acoustic space. And it's AI that allowed them to develop the flawless web of 10,000 uniquely shaped individual tiles that did that. Now imagine that in our industry. So think about it with spatial planning. You set the parameters, like how many people you're going to need to have at your event. You look at what your front of house activation space needs to be, how much you need to allocate to back of house activation space, and then it could toss out 30 configurations. And if your creative director likes even 1 or 2 of those, then you're already off to a flying start. It is human plus AI. Now, I could go on forever, so I'm going to wind things up. And I'm going to say that it is genuinely not if. AI is going to affect us. It's a case of how. And it's how you're going to react that's going to make the difference. You know, it's not going to change our end goal, which is to create these extraordinary events and experiences. And we at Jack Morton say that an extraordinary experience is simple, it's moving, it's original, and it's effective. And with AI in your creative toolbox, you can shortcut that process. So imagine if simple and effective were taken care of. You know, it's not difficult to imagine. AI can make the complex simple, and it can calculate and use data in a way that we can't even comprehend, so it can lead to more effective work, which would leave us to focus on moving and original. Now, who doesn't want that? So if you take nothing else away from my ramblings today, then just make sure you ask yourself, how can I use AI to do great work? That's both for yourselves, for your clients, and for your businesses. Because it's the people who can grasp AI that are going to be the ones that really succeed in the future. But do remember that, you know, it's still in the burgeoning stages. It might not always go perfectly. And as the comedian Robert Webb recently said, anyone who expects to feel safe in a driverless car has never owned a printer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. And we've got one question, actually, in Slido for you. And that's, what about the complex questions within chatbots? Do you think chatbots can completely replace humans?
No. Well, certainly not at the moment. So chatbots are designed to handle the simple, more easily automated. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look for anonymous, but clearly I'm not going to find you. They are designed to make the complex simple. So they can't handle really complex emotional judgments that humans can do at the moment. That's where we have to come in and exercise our editorial, but in this case, human judgment. So no, at the moment, they wouldn't be able to handle that.
Okay, thank you very much. Give it up for Ben one more time. Thank you.
Thank you.